play right now a little snippet here. Here we go. This is Aaron Shadra, his up single. There are so many people in my head. It's kind of vampiric, if you ask me, like Lost Boys-ish. You can talk if you want.
Yes. Yeah.
There's kind of this sacred feel for a moment, and I was uncomfortable. So yeah, this is if you get Achromatic Residue's new album, Melatonin Melodies, you'll get also a copy of this single on the in the album. So go right on down to the Deep Web label at Bandcamp page and check out Melatonin Melodies, or if you just gotta have the single's also there under Aaron Shadro. That's Aaron Shadro. And we're live from the Deep Web, podcast number 3. I'm Ken Synthrock, aka Jonathan Hayes, because I'm not a real person. And I have with me an esteemed guest by the name of PZA. Cody.
That's right.
How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you today?
I am doing amazing. When the moon hits your eye like a pizza pie. It's amore. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have with me the prolific mercurial producer Pizza. It's true though.
Finally made it. Finally here. 2016, baby. Turn up. We finally. I mean, this is it. Dynasty.
It is. So let's talk a little bit about the obvious thing here. Your prolificness. You produce on a very quick scale. I gotta say this, it is on a conveyor belt, but it's not factory product. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Each box is different. It really is.
Sure.
It's not the same thing.
No, it'll never be the same thing because I don't want to make the same album twice. I've always wanted, like, and I know that I kind of have, and I think everybody that makes music has made an album that sounds similar to another album, but that's like part of the process of finding something more to the sound of music and everything, and my sound especially. That's my own journey, I guess, through music.
So, what is a pizza album about? I mean, is it thematic? Is it conceptual? Is it?
Yes, it does have. There are concept albums, but there are also albums that have absolutely no meaning. But it was probably during a time where I was like going through some breakup or just dealing with loneliness and just being therapeutic and making music, because music is like a therapy for me. I think it's for anybody that makes music. Music is a therapy, though. You know.
I have an antagonistic relationship with music. So music is I need therapy because of music.
Yeah, I see. I got you.
But
yeah.
I've got an old horse relationship with music. I smack it on its ass, and I'm like, fucking hate you, but I ride it every day.
Poor Paw.
It's true. Sometimes it throws me off and hurts me and stuff, but I mean, yeah, but I feel what you're saying. I really do. I mean, when you are in the flow, that's I think anything in this world that you do where you're in this kind of Zen flow,
Yeah.
just your brain, like it heals it or something, or you know what I mean. I think it does do something really beneficial to you, your health and your mental health. So yeah, I can totally understand that whole therapeutic edge to it. I really can. What about let's go into your latest, because you just released what just a couple of days ago, right?
I
A
released
day?
Night and Day, and these are concept albums of like being up all night and staying up all day working on music. And it's like this was probably wrote all this stuff in like mid February to early March stuff. So, and there's like a lot more that I even wrote to it, and it's like I compiled them into albums and sent them to like labels that were like wanting like a record from me. So these are all just kind of like the ones that I was just kind of like iffy on, but it's like, well, I mean, I'm setting on these, might as well like let's release them and put it in a concept album of Night and Day, where it's more like darker tones for night, and day would be like lighter tones, obviously not really much of a concept, I understand, but they're also like songs that I was going to scrap, you know?
No, it's very Vivaldi thing of you to do. You know,
Yeah,
he's doing like the four seasons. You're doing the circadian seasons, I guess you could say. Yeah, I
exactly.
mean that's pretty cool, actually. What about any labels that are wanting your stuff lately? What's on that end? You getting
That and I've got something coming out on Elmo 95 on 420. 420. Um, anyways, I've got something coming out next week on Commercial Dreams Ltd, and that's Vapor Eon. And the one that's coming out on Elmo 95 is Light Against the Darkness. And then you've got Iron that's coming out on Bedlam Digital in early May. And then the big one was, hang on one second, it's the big one. And I want to make sure I get everything right on what I'm about to say. So, yeah. Sorry.
is this an
Um,
exclusive? Has it had have you dropped this yet? This information?
no, all this stuff that I just named is what's coming out within this month in early May.
Awesome.
Like there's three more there's four more albums on the way, but hang on, I want to make sure that I'm saying this right. I don't know. I look like an idiot. Hang on.
Ha
Okay, all right. I think this is my best album this year. It's called Pizza Memory Loss, and it's going to be on Goodnight Tapes, and it's going to be on a Till cassette. And honestly, I think it's like I just got dumped like 2 days before like Valentine's Day, and these
My
were like the first.
condolences.
Like, what?
My condolences. That's
Uh,
actually heartbreaking.
it's whatever, you know. Anyways, so I wrote all these songs after I got dumped or whatever, and like they're like my I don't know. It was like my best, some of my best music, and then like after that, I mean, that basically is like what Night and Day is. It's like, in my opinion, throwaway. But that album is going to be sick. Pizza Memory Loss is the name of it. It's going. I think it's going to be out like I don't know. I talked to Ruben. We're doing something between mid May and early June is when it's coming out. So yeah.
Nice. So it's going to be infused with a lot of emotion, then a lot of authenticity, things like that.
Yes. Yes. It's. Not to say that any of my other stuff's not. To me, it's just more like I don't. It's a potent album. It's. I don't know. I really enjoyed make like after I made it, I was like sweet. And what's funny thing about it is that like even though after I wrote all that, like me and like my girl we're back together after all that. So it was like
Oh, okay,
weird
cool.
that I got a cool album out of it, and then I got my girlfriend back.
I completely rescind my condolences. Then moving
Yeah,
forward.
that's what it's just a like that was like it's weird, but yeah, whatever. It's life. It's life, man.
Nice. Very. So okay. So when you went ahead and produced an album after experiencing being dumped,
Yeah.
did you try to make your music as kind of like a sexual honeypot, like you know, as like pheromones, or were you making it as an honest expression of how hurt you were when you went through it?
an honest expression of how hurt I was. I was just hurt.
I,
And what? Oh, sorry.
oh no, no, no! It's your turn. Go ahead.
Um, I was hurt because I mean I love this girl and she loves me and we love each other. And you know, relationships like any other relationship, if like someone leaves you in a relationship with them, you're gonna be hurt. But it's like whenever that happened, I don't know, it drives me to a point of just like I want to make music and get away from everything because everything else is bullshit to me except like making music. It's like that's my favorite thing on this. That's all I do.
I
I don't
feel. I
really
feel.
I don't really get out much. I don't know. I don't give a fuck about like going to bars and shit. I mean, I will go, whatever. It's fine, but honestly, I'd rather be in my room in bed making music because I feel comfortable here.
Well, do you ever have any plans of performing?
Yeah, yeah. I've got some shows lined up this summer. I'm playing at Diesel Fest in Ar. I'm from Arkansas, and I'll be playing at that. And then we're supposed to be doing some kind of I don't know what's going on with it. The Vape Council is talking about doing a vapor trap show in Chicago. Who
Nice.
knows? I'm not too sure what's going on with that, but I don't know. If it happens, it happens.
I would like
But
to coordinate one in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm actually
Lexington.
Kentucky.
Oh my God, you're in the land of Mesh.
Yes. That
Because isn't he from
I
Kentucky?
actually don't know. I have no clue actually.
Oh, dude,
But
Mesh. All right, yeah, that's the point.
there's a pretty hungry demographic here of people who would go to something like that, and
Yeah,
zero outlet for it. But I think there's a couple places that are open to it, but there's no one doing it, so it's a perfect opportunity. I'm looking to put
dude,
something together like that.
turn your house into the house venue, and I'll come play
I just might. I just might. But no, if I could book you, I would book you in a real venue, not
Yeah,
not a stadium, of course, but
I will
but
play.
there's a
I'm
place
open to
that
play stadiums.
of course,
Yeah,
there's a place here that, like Calm Trues comes to every time he comes around. So I mean, in that play, I mean, it packs the house, and I understand that you're not Calm Trues, like you guys don't
yeah,
do the same exact kind of music, but it's that kind of outsider uh, electronic music that isn't electronic in the sense of being dance or anything. It's this
yeah,
this
exactly.
cutting edge
It's
stuff.
more. Well, it's like what got me turned on to like making like I guess like vapor trap. It was more along the lines of like I was making hip hop beats first, and then I got into vaporwave, and then I started just experimenting with like I used to make a lot of psychedelic music. Like that's all I made for a long time. So I took all these elements and just that's what PZA is an element of like vapor trap and like psychedelia overall was what I've named as pizza wave because I don't know why not.
I feel.
Yeah.
So, I have a question. Why have, or not why, I don't know if you have or not. Have you ever submitted any of your work to Adult Swim?
I don't know. It's a good question. I have never like my mind's more like I don't know. I just need to do that. I suppose I don't know what my mind is. Bullshitting, but I don't know. I haven't ever done that, and I've
Here's
never
a
thought about it. I guess.
Yeah, I would definitely do that if I were you. It was the first thing I ever thought about. I can't help it. Like before I had the label, I always thought like when I encounter people, like I completely start packaging them.
Yeah,
It's just how I think. It's just something natural about it for me. And I'm not saying I'm
yeah,
amazing at it, but it's just I can't help it. So when I encountered your stuff, I was like, well, this is something that would be playing on Adult Swim really easily. I mean, just
yeah.
easily. So yeah, man, I would if I were you, I would definitely submit some stuff there that way because that's great exposure. You know,
I've honestly, well, I've never like I've never really looked at it like that. I've been just more focused on like getting on labels and just like promoting like any vaporwave label that wants my name on their like label. Like that's kind of what I've been more focused on. But I do need to like branch out. It doesn't hurt anything. I'm just start trying to help out all these like independent labels. I don't like it's. I don't know. I love all of them. They're all great. Everybody's got something to bring to the table, and it's sick.
It is pretty cool. I think it's something that could never have been done ever before. You know what I mean? This is kind of a new thing.
Yeah, this is a great movement, and it's like either like people who are like claiming to love music, the like I don't know the jam band festy kids or whatever, like even they're getting involved with it. To like people that listen to hip hop or like listen to country music, they're getting involved. It's like everybody comes from a different background, is what I'm trying to say, and I think that's really fucking cool. Like,
Oh yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's weird. It's kind of like the barbarians at the gate of Rome, at the gates of Rome, kind of thing. Like it really is. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they're all these different tribes of labels with their
yeah,
various tribes of artists that are native to their land.
yeah,
You know, they're all together, huge conglomerate that is loose. It's not really anyone leading it,
yeah,
and they're all knocking at the gates, being like, "We want a share of the music."
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
we want to share the industry, and so I think eventually it's going to happen.
Oh, I
I
mean,
really do.
honestly, this may be silly, but whenever I saw like the music video of Hotline Bling by Drake, like the aesthetics and everything, I was
Oh yeah,
just
of
like,
course. Oh yeah.
clearly, like, where do you get this idea of it? It's like obviously you got the vaporwave aesthetics and just like put them into like a good like pop song. It's not even that well produced, in my opinion. Yeah, I said it.
Do you know what? You know what? Really, I'm pouring some coffee. Uh,
It's cool. Drink that fucking caffeine. It's good.
I love coffee. I live off of coffee. Love it so much. I just drink it straight black. I love the flavor and everything.
You
I
know,
guess it makes me a
I
psychopath.
I drink pour overs. I drink African pour overs from this. I don't know if it's like a local place or not, but it's called Onyx Coffee.
Hmm.
I don't know, but they have these really good pour over coffees, and it's like 15 times the caffeine of like anything because it's like I don't know the process. I'm not a barista, but I just know that shit gets me jacked.
Barista.
Yeah,
But yeah, going back to vaporwave aesthetics inside of mainstream music. You know what the
yeah,
dead giveaway for me was Hillary Duff when she had that album that she had some video in like 2015 or something like that, and I guess it was a making of it or something. I'm not too up on Hillary Duff's material,
yeah.
but
Come on, dude. Everybody's caught up on Hillary. Come on.
exactly, except
Not
for
Hillary
me.
Clinton, but Hillary Duff. Yeah, you know.
But there was like little spots in the video where she was in a neon tiled room in the corner, and there was I think there was like a palm tree in there somewhere. It was a complete thing. To me, her doing something like that is more of a dead giveaway because
Yeah,
that's an artist that's a B-list artist. You know what I mean? Hillary Duff's never going to be, up there with Lady Gaga and everybody else.
yeah,
She's never going to do that. She's always going to be in the B list. So someone like that is always constantly hustling and constantly thinking because
yeah,
they've got to keep their head above water. I mean, I'm sure she makes great money, by our standards,
yeah.
but by like,
I mean, Lizzie McGuire, though. What?
I think, yeah, that might be making her some money
Weirdo?
too. But yeah, I think someone like that, if she's thinking like that, then everyone's going to start, it's going to go up the pipe eventually. And
Hillary,
that's,
Hillary Duff's listening to Macintosh Plus. Where our genre's ruined.
what's going to happen? This is my prediction for Vaporwave. I
All
think
right.
when an industry finally grabs a hold of it, what they're
Mm-hmm.
going to do is turn it back into easy listening. And it's just going to be organically made elevator music again.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the trend. People are going to put beats over it and sing. And they're not even going to sample it. They're just going to make it. I think that's what's going to happen.
I'm just yeah. Actually, I did that recently with some music with the trap beat. Yeah, I did that.
Exactly.
But see, that's the thing though. It's like that's so vague. I mean, yeah, it will turn into like some. All it would take is like someone like Drake or someone like fucking Lil Wayne or some shit. I respect Lil Wayne. I'm not like talking shit. I respect the South, the Southern rappers. DJ Screw, what, you know? I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm fucked up.
Well, a big namaste to Lil Wayne then.
Namaste to Lil Wayne. Shout out to Lil Wayne. Work with me. Come on.
But yeah, I
Honestly,
think it's gonna go somewhere like that. You're gonna have a whole bunch of industries that, you know, if you look at like the guitar world's like one of the biggest chaser of
that's
trends.
so
Because
sad. After so long, Guitar Hero, Guitar World, and like guitar magazines and everything. It's like it's so sad what it turned into.
yeah, but it's desperate, man. Here's the thing: like, I was an investor in a music store in the around 2007 and then 2008 after the recession hit,
Yeah.
and there was just a completely different tone in that industry. Uh, I mean, than ever before. I mean, I got to see the year before, and it was already kind of hard. But then, like after 2008, it became like, okay, we're looking at zero sales unless we can dance for quarters. Like this, it started happening like that. It got weird. It got really, really squirrely, and the packages and everything had to get really, really creative, and it got weird. I even went to NAMM at 2008,
Yeah.
and it was like that. Even the tone was like that. Everybody was like a sideshow freak trying to sell something. You know,
I
even
mean, there
harder.
wasn't some like camouflage Paul Reed Smith man with some fucking dual humbuckers.
There was a. I remember one time there was this dude that had like 2 foot tall hair, like a pompadour, and he was rocking that, selling rubber picks.
Yeah.
And that's when you know that you got issues within the industry. I, I still have it. It's this big, thick rubber pick. It has zero utility to it whatsoever. And the
Dude, that's
dude
what I tell
was
you.
like, I mean, it sounds like you're using a thumb, very
Yeah.
muffled, and it of the string too. And so sometimes it messes with your rhythm. You really
I
can't
see.
do well with it. It sucked, and that was the tone. Then it was weird. There was a cardboard guitar, and
Yeah.
fold it. It's
Did
just
it have what kind of pickups? That single coil P90s humbuckers?
no, it was an acoustic, an acoustic bass too. It was cardboard and it folded, and you just popped it up and popped it back down. That was kind of what happened. Everyone started thinking novelty because they were trying to sell stuff, and Guitar Hero became every guitar teacher's friend at that point too.
Oh God, that's depressing.
It is depressing. It's very depressing. That's that's what happened. You know, at that time, I was a gun for hire for studio sessions and live shows for guitar, and I didn't have any more gigs where I was doing rock at all, or like, you know, solos and things like that. I was doing country and stuff like that. I had to do that to make money, you know, just to make
Yeah.
extra money. I
Well, yeah,
had to
we're
get
in
my
the South. That's literally that's if you're like in the South, you have to play country music in order to like get paid books, like paid
oh
gigs.
yeah, it's
It's
true.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Here's the thing though, like I enjoy playing country chops. Like, you know, but unfortunately, I don't get to use any of them if I ever get, you know, a gig playing anything like
Yeah,
that when I get hired. It's always like the new country stuff, you know, like the
yeah.
John Mellencamp meets whatever, you know, kind of new
Jason
country stuff.
Aldean, dude, come on, man.
Exactly.
Dirt Road Anthem,
Dirt
man.
road.
Feeling on dirt road.
Exactly. Bow, bow.
Driving my truck to hell.
Yeah, that's
I,
I need to start doing that shit.
we should just start a country band. How about it? Me and you.
I have entertained the thought of writing both country music, selling it, and also contemporary Christian music and selling it.
Dude, I
I
thought
think
about check this out. Christian dubstep. Lord, I
That's
lift
it.
your name on high, and then it goes to
Bow.
dubstep.
Wah, 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 wah,
Wah,
wah,
wah,
wah,
wah,
wah,
wah,
wah.
wah, wah, wah. Lord, I love, you know.
Oh
And
my
then you would
God, that'd
work.
be great. That'd be
Think about
amazing.
this: a Christian rave. Praise God. We're
All water.
drinking. We're drinking Sprite and having a dance party to the shitty Skrillex ripoff.
People would tape two glow sticks together to make crucifixes, and then tape that all over their
Cro-
body.
yes, glow in the dark crosses.
Exactly, everywhere, everywhere.
Every
Yeah.
it's a Christian rave, and there's a guy that's like DJing, and he looks like Jesus, and in the backdrop is like a temple where Jesus, rose on the third day. Yeah, that shit would work.
On the third day. Yeah, that'd be amazing. It would be, of course, a 3-day festival rave.
Of course, I mean,
Of
yeah,
course.
it's like a church camp, but it's just you're raving, and you're getting jacked up, like you're drinking a fuck ton of Mountain Dew, and you're inside this rave where Jesus is, Lord, I lift your name on high, 18-hour loop, dubstep. And then it changes from that to like, what's another good Christian song?
Our God is a awesome God.
Awesome.
That's a
Yeah,
great
and it
one.
goes in,
My
yeah,
God, or
and it
whatever.
goes from an 18-hour loop to that to another like 24-hour loop to that one, because that one's a really good drop. You've heard it. We've all heard that Christian dubstep. It's great. My
Yeah, I
favorite
think. Go ahead.
favorite Christian dubstep producer is DJ Job.
So we have a surprise guest,
Surprise guest.
a
Surprise guest.
Thad McKraken.
Hey, Ken. Sorry, dude. I wrote that I wrote down the time wrong. I wrote it down as 3. My bad. So I was there early and everything. But the wrong time. What's amazing is I wasn't
That's
even
okay.
stoned. I wrote that down at work. I'm like, I can't believe I did that, and I wasn't even high when I did that. What are you gonna do? My bad. I'm
That's
here now.
okay. That is all right. We have a super deluxe podcast going on right now with esteemed and ubiquitous, mercurial, and what's another great word? Let's just go with protein, producer of music.
Awesome.
And we
Awesome.
have with us psychonaut and writer Thad McKraken.
Yeah.
Thad
Good to
McKraken,
be
how
here,
are you
man.
doing?
Well, other than feeling guilty about completely writing down the time wrong, and I thought I was like showing up like early, and then I'm like, oh shit. Other than that, I'm feeling good, man. Hi, it's a beautiful day in Seattle, man. Doing great. How you guys doing? What have I missed? What have I missed so far on the conversation? What are we talking about here?
We
Talking
were
about Christian
discussing
dubstep.
exactly.
Dubstep. Okay, gotcha.
Planning.
No, Christian dubstep.
Yes.
Christian dubstep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christians kind of co-op everything, don't they? Yeah, I remember. I lived in Ohio years ago, and we moved into this place in Miami of Ohio, and there was this music network that none of us had ever heard of, and it took us a while to figure out like who are these bands? Why have we never? And then it's like, oh, they're like Christian. It's like a Christian music network, and they're like Christian replica of and they had like all the trends down, and this is like way back in the 90s. They had like every kind of trend that was going on in the 90s. There was a Christian band doing the exact same thing, except a like really watered down version of it, and yeah, it was all
Exactly.
terrible.
I think it's still going on, and I don't know the name of that show, but I watched that when I was younger because it was like, I didn't know what the fuck, I was like, this is cool music, and then started realizing what the message was, and I was like, okay, I'm over it.
But that was, you know
Yeah.
what? That's a real phenomenon in the South because my mom became a born-again Christian for 2 years when I was a kid. And I got exposed for that short time to the burgeoning evangelical world of Christianity, the evangelical Christian stuff,
Mhm.
Oh,
And
you're a Seventh
yeah,
Day?
it was weird. Do what?
I'm sorry about that, man.
Oh,
Sorry you
what,
had. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, were you a Seventh Day evangelicist?
No, I think. Are you talking about Seventh Day Adventists?
Yeah, maybe. I can't
No,
pronounce it.
those are the guys that, and I'm really simplifying it for brevity, but those are the guys that don't eat meat and celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday,
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they celebrate it on Sunday. My aunt was one of those, whatever, beliefs, philosophy, religion, what?
So what? So you were briefly. Where was that story going? You were briefly a Seventh Day Adventist during your childhood.
Oh, oh, I wasn't. My mom just became like a born again Christian, like the evangelical
Oh,
stuff, like the
gotcha.
non-denominational, modern,
Yes.
yeah, the real cringy kind.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they did deliverances on me, like I guess their version of exorcisms. They,
What?
Hmm.
they did a couple of those on me, and that was really freaking hilarious. Looking back, it was, but then it was hilarious. Then they would all put their hands on me and speak in tongues and stuff like that. Yeah, it was
Yes.
all hilarious.
Oh yeah. Dude, I've
Yeah.
been to a Pentecostal church. It's like that. They do that thing.
That is, I'm always suspicious of that. Like anytime anyone goes into that, it's just like, what? What? I mean, yeah. And they think that's like somehow kind of like they like demonstrate that it's they put it out like it's some demonstration or proof that like, hey, I'm in an altered state or I'm talking to God because I can do this weird speaking in tongues thing, and you're like, but can't anyone just do that at any time? Can't you just go like, Anyways.
Yes. They just so happen to be able to channel it every Wednesday and Sunday. And then every other day of the week they can't get like that. See, yeah, I don't know. I don't believe it.
Well, what's fascinating is that when there came an influx of Africans into the North and South America and the
Mhm.
Caribbean, that's when in America there started to be, after a couple of decades of that kind of mingling, there started to be this kind of shift in Christianity in America where spirit possession, very
Yeah.
key ideas in like West African religion and spirituality started to kind of pop up, where Christian rituals started to kind of, in a very vanilla way, appear like voodoo rituals. There's
Yeah.
drums and there's droning in the background, there's altered states of consciousness, and they're speaking the language. It starts to happen. It's really crazy. It's hilarious.
Snake handling, yeah.
It's hilarious because of how there you go, right? I mean, that's a lot of that is straight out of the book of West African spirituality. I mean,
Yeah.
or at
There's
least
some
in ritual form. I don't.
there's some weird spiritual beliefs out there under the guise of religion, that's for sure. Yeah, it's weird, and I think the weirdest thing is I I was a Christian when I was growing up because my stepmom kind of imposed Christianity on us, and so I was forced to go to church, and I was like an altar boy. And I've now experimented with, things like ritualistically using psychedelic drugs, astral projection. I've done chaos magic stuff. I've done dream journaling stuff. All of that stuff worked. The Christian stuff that I didn't do shit. And like that stuff is way more. That's the popular dominant thing. And I did it. Like I did all the rituals. I used to say like the Lord's Prayer every night. I went to church every week. Like I did all the rituals until for I don't know a good period of like 10 years of my life, and it really didn't do anything. And yet all the other weird things that I've tried have worked. Like Christianity is the one thing that I've tried that didn't work, and yet that's the popular dominant belief system in our period. And all these fringe things that like honestly, the number of people that are engaging in, kind of sigil projection or astral projection. I mean, what are you talking like? Like I don't even know if you'd reach like 1 million people in this country that are doing that kind of thing. It's like this total fringe stuff, and it worked. And then Christianity, that stuff just didn't. I mean, and I always got the sense like praying at night doesn't really it's like it's not putting you in touch with the higher power. It never struck me that way. I'm like you're just thinking things. You're just like saying you're just like you're imagining you're talking to God and yet you're just like saying it in your head. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I feel you.
I think historically I think historically there was a period of time where, and it wasn't perfect or anything like that, but I think there was a period in time in European history that the church, as the Catholic Church, uh, had brought some kind of ad hoc order to things and did some nice things socially. But I mean, it's not attributed to a religion per se as much as it was to the community. But yeah, I mean, I think it lost its way as what it was for in the first place a long time ago, because Christianity kind of settled into a very social thing for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it was just
Well,
how
it kept people organized and kept
exactly.
like society under control.
Once it
Yeah.
became this kind of individual thing, that's when shenanigans ensued.
I say whenever it became like an extreme, that's whenever it was like, okay, just chill out with the belief. It's just a belief. You don't have to go take a sword and cut someone's head off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, and you're right. It's really, and that's something that I have to keep in mind. Like when I first married my wife, she didn't believe that there were like moderate, normal Christians, like liberal, like and there's lots of them. So it's bad to just like stereotype and say, oh, Christianity's bad, because it's like extremism, and there's extremism in all varieties of religions, and honestly, there's
Exactly.
extremism in alternate spiritual practices. There's extremism in atheism. It's just like extremism in the certainty that what's going on, beyond the field of death. That leads to really bad shit. Honesty. I mean, it doesn't seem like very much good really comes out of that. It's I don't know. I mean, I guess a sense of order is created out of it. It's like some people, I guess, that get into fundamentalist Christianity, that's how they get out of drugs, death and stuff. But God, there's like fundamentalist Scientology people, and those people are creepy as fuck too. So it's just when it goes too far. But ultimately, I think in my pursuits of shamanism, weirdly enough, I think that the things like the Bible are based on shamanic ideas, and ideas that are inherently sort of true in a way, but it's just it's turned into something where there's no encouragement to engage in the Gnostic side of those practices, and in the direct experience with what people would refer to as God, and the tendency to just read the same book over and over again and do the same rituals, which don't really put you in an altered headspace. I mean, if I was to say why Christianity didn't work and these other things that I tried worked, it would be these other things that I tried were actually creating an altered headspace in me, which is, I think, where you sort of engage with the spirit world. Whereas Christianity, I mean, you're doing the opposite of that. You're just soberly, like, singing hymns. I guess if you were singing cooler hymns, maybe, or getting high at church, I wouldn't mind, like, yeah. I mean, I don't think the rituals involved with, sorry, not to keep going, I don't think the rituals involved with, say, church are really a bad thing. I mean, it involves, like, listening to a lecture and listening and singing songs and listening to music. I think that could be turned into something, getting together and ritualistically doing that on a regular basis, if you had like good music and interesting lectures, could be turned into something that was actually cool. But, it's just been in such a stagnant, weird state of let's just read the same books over and over again and, do the same prayers. It really hasn't changed a lot in God. I mean, as long as I've been alive, it's like, it seems like what you
Gnostic Gospels? What?
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, no, and how all that's been edited out. Like, yeah, I mean, it's been such a calculated thing to just edit out the Gnostic texts of all these religions, and so they all have their roots and stuff that I think is inherently somewhat accurate. I think the idea that life is a bit of some kind of a morality test in the way that you treat others, the karma and the impact it like affects, your ability to kind of ascend higher and get out of this shithole that is our reality. I definitely think there's, and in my own experiences, I've seen that there's some legitimacy to that, but it's just when you're not experiencing it directly, and then it gets, and not only that, the Bible is really non-specific too, and it can be interpreted in a lot of ways, and so yeah, it's a very destructive force in our society, and not only that.
The
It
Bible
doesn't make for good. It doesn't make for good music. That's why we started off too. Like, Christian bands just suck, and most fundamentalist religious bands. These are people that, when you program your mind that way, I think good art comes from kind of channeling, other dimensions, or coming up with new ideas. And And yeah, no, I know one of the hip Christian churches, which ended up getting shut down in Seattle. Well, because of the guy's incompetence. But yeah, no, they used to like brag, like, we have bands that sound exactly like other bands, and that's like the best that they could brag, and they brag about that. They'd
They
be
did
like,
that in the early '90s. They did
yeah,
that when I was a kid. They were like, if you like Nirvana, you got to listen to the Newsboys. Talk. Petra. I remember those
oh,
names because
Petra,
it was
yes.
ridiculous. It was so, and they were like so vanilla and clean. They were, even when they were trying to be dirty.
Just remember Switchfoot? We were meant to live.
Jars of clay.
Yeah. Switchfoot was horrible. Casting Crowns. Audio Adrenaline.
Creed.
Audio Adrenaline. Oh, God,
Creed. Third Day.
Wait, did anybody? I don't like to like look down upon people and take, but sometimes there is like you can't help. I mean, the guy from Creed completely like flamed out and was like homeless and was I mean, it was just like this guy was one of the biggest rock stars in the world in like less than 10 years. That dude was like a complete like living on the street like alcoholic.
Exactly.
I was
like, fuck you, Obama. Fuck you. He became one of those dudes.
A reality show about Scott Stapp. I would have watched it. Just like Bret Michaels' Rock of Love.
I love Bret Michaels' Rock of Love. I will be honest with you right now. I watch that every so often. I will watch the complete run of that seasons.
I've seen it too, unfortunately. That's like I don't really watch reality shows either, but that is like one for some reason. Actually, my wife like never watched that stuff. She didn't have cable for years, and when we first moved in together, like so she didn't know how bad reality TV was. Like, and I don't really watch much, but yeah, that Rock of Love, that was the show that I like demonstrated to my wife. Like, oh, if you want to see how horrible this has gotten, like look at this. You've never even seen anything like this. It's so bad. Yeah, no, that show was, man. Ugh.
But
it was a train wreck.
Like, it was so bad. It's like we're still talking about it because it was that bad. It's like
it was amazing. It was so bad. It was amazing. That's what
exactly.
Well, okay, I only watched the first season, and what was so apropos was at the end. It was like, do you want the one girl who's a little bit older, who's like closer to your age and was like a huge fan of your music, or do you want the chick who's younger and who's never even listened to your music and is just on the reality show because she wants to be famous? And he chose the younger girl who had never heard his music. That's
wrong. The answer was all of them. That was the whole point of the show. That was the point of the whole show. Was it should have been called Bret Michaels' Rod of Love. And it should have been about a sexual exploits.
Well, it's strangely
absolutely, and he got dirty. He got dirty.
Yeah, no, he slept with like all those girls. It was really trashy.
I'm Bret Michaels. I played.
If you're surrounded with that much just nudity and sexual openness, and you are able to have sex. Who are all thirsty for money, right? They're thirsty for fame.
This is
what they're here for. This is business acquisitions here. And if you're surrounded with that and you keep having sex, what is it? 1 day, 2 days before you start getting deviant. you start getting crazy. You start making shit up, and and that's what I think that show was all about.
So
just like,
I mean, honestly,
he started having sex again.
Jersey Shore or Rock of Love?
What's that?
Jersey Shore or Rock of Love?
Oh God! I've only seen like one episode of Jersey Shore in my life, but I don't know. I don't know which one's creepier. In all honesty, I think maybe Rock of Love was a little bit creepier because it was women just prostituting themselves for the chance to be famous, whereas I think with Jersey Shore it was. Like, I mean, they were like, these people would be hooking up whether they were on TV or not, It was
just, that was kind of like I don't know, like a college town or some shit.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of shit that goes on in any college town. Whereas Rock of Love had this level of skis, like, I'm a woman who wants to be famous and a reality star, so who do you want me to fuck? Okay, you want me to fuck this guy? And that's the thing. The first thing that I saw, the chick that won she had never heard of the band Poison. Like, she didn't even know who the guy was that she was like, oh, I gotta fuck someone to be famous. And that's the one he chose over the girl that was like a huge fan of his and had been a fan like since back for 20 years.
There was a sweet little innocence to that show, I think, is what it was. There was sincerity to it. It was like the handshake was transparent. You can see the deal between the viewer and the cast. It was one of those things. It was very honest, and it was sweet. You were just like, oh, I get it. You want to be in a porn, and you're poor. I understand. Well, get up there. You go get yours. Like it started being like that. It was sweet. It was.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like, it's not like that's anything that doesn't happen in, LA on a daily basis. So, I mean, let's face it. It was just putting it on TV,
Exactly.
Or back another, like, rock of love.
There was a rock of porn. I guarantee there's like a porn movie that's like a parody of that show. I would be willing to bet money on
Love. They had the Daisy of Love.
Yeah, I remember version. The Daisy. Yeah. That was the one. That was okay. I remember that. That was
she completely sucked at music. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
How she walked around like she was like this Mozart or something, and she.
Who was Daisy? I don't even know who we're talking about. Who is it?
She was a contestant on Rock of Love. I think.
Gotcha. Okay.
She got her own spin-off show after she lost.
There was it was of course the male version, so they had to have like a cage fight. They had all kinds of shit like that in it, and push-up contest.
I love how the one philosophy and like all going back to like the real world when that started, the one philosophy behind all of it is like get everyone drunk. Like get people in a room and just then feed them booze. Like, and that's the way it is. Like you read these people and like that Rock Love was pretty open about that too. It's like in first activity, shots. It's like
yeah, I loved seeing them drunk. That was hilarious. One of them I remember one. And I promise this will be the last Rock of Love anecdote I'll share. But one was this chick who, like, started talking evil. Like, she got so drunk, and they had to, like, I think they had threatened to throw her off the show. Yeah, and she was just like, damn, I don't promise me a good time. It was really real. It was real. And it got creepy because it got real. And you're like, oh, God, I know one of those people. They're talking that talk. I have a trauma associated with that. So, okay, let's diverge the course of old VH1 reality series. That was a golden age.
Classic.
I do. While we're on the top of a Christian rock, do you guys remember the Christian rap group DC Talk by any chance?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Shout out.
Okay, so this I actually this is a weird. I posted something on disinfo.com. I don't know, a couple years ago. I had a dream that I was like in class and and DC Talk was there, and there was somehow like I'd have to look at my notes to see remember what the dream was entirely. But DC Talk was somehow in this dream, and I thought it was weird. So the next day I'm like Googling DC Talk on work to see like what the fuck ever happened to those guys, and in the course of doing that, I found out that DC Talk are actually too radical for a lot of Christians, and they've been accused, like a lot of other musicians, of being heads of the Illuminati. There are literally videos on the internet telling you DC Talk are evil and they're corrupting the minds of our good Christians, and it was just mind-blowing to me to realize that, like, for a lot of these conservative Christians, like, that's way too far. Like, a shitty Christian rap group that's, like, nothing but positivity and go Jesus, that's too conservative. And not only that, they're so conservative that they're being accused of being involved with the occults and being heads of the Illuminati.
It's because they had a black guy in the group. That's exactly why. That is completely why they did that.
And they're playing the devil's hip-hop, I guess. But
so, Obama's the Antichrist. We all know it.
Why don't we call him by his real name, Hussein?
Honestly, he's going to come here and kill all of us Christians. I'm worried. Obama. I'm worried, Obama, man.
They're going to take over our cars. They already have a microchip in them.
Son, my truck, I went out there and took all the computers out of my truck. I was fucking stupid.
they're I love the Schrodinger's immigrant thing. It's like simultaneously too lazy to work and taking your jobs at the same time.
There is so much. I think that's how they're getting so many people on board with this crazy shit, is because of the staggering enigmas. I think it does something weird to the brain, like hypnotizes people who have, I don't know what, but I think it does. All these enigmas happen. It's very culty, but it's weird.
Yeah.
All these stories and myths and talking points, they're all full of these weird, contradictions. And I don't know, it's frustrating to watch TV, I guess, when you see that, because you just want to scream at it. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, are you guys people that like? I used to do that when I was younger, and it just I guess I mean it was something I think I grew out of, which is kind of like irony watching television, like watching stuff like Rock of Love, like stuff that I hate on purpose. I think I hit a point where I was like, yeah, I'm just not doing that anymore, like because you're like supported, but hey, I mean, it's not like I didn't used to do it, man. I'm not like judging anybody, but
I mean, I've been doing it most of my life, and I don't think it's gonna stop.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do it too, but the funny thing is, like with me, it's like I haven't it's not like I stopped watching TV. I just watch other stupid shit, Like I'm like a sports fan, so like you find me like watching like football and basketball and shit obsessively, and I'm like, is that really any better than watching reality TV? It's just as stupid. It's just like it just numbs my brain.
I have to get fucking upset if my team doesn't win the big points.
Yeah, it's hard being a sports fan because you know that you're kind of an idiot. It's like on some level you're kind of a moron. Like, and there's no getting around it.
I'm actually
like sports.
I'm completely ignorant of any kind of non-combat sport. Like even of like what the fans are like. I have no clue. I've never.
I'm really good at table tennis.
That's a motherfucker. Table tennis.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't
every day. I go outside. I'll run around my neighborhood and then come home and just play table tennis and drink some fucking Capri Suns and
yell at my family.
Fuck it.
So, Thad,
yeah,
you have a book out now, right?
Yeah. I have a book that just came out a couple weeks ago called Transmissions from Outside of Time, and it's a very interesting book. Yeah. If anyone's listening is curious, you can let me sell it first, and I can say it's only $5 to download on Amazon. But what it is it's a book. So right around the time, so in 2012, for one, I know 2012 was the thing that I did not believe there was going to be any kind of a psychic revolution, like I think some people thought there was going to be. I never really thought that, but because
that was the start of the age of Aquarius.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. The thing is, I think you'll have to look back on it from 100 years from now to think whether there was. But because there's writers like Terence McKenna and Grant Morrison who had implanted this into kind of the semiotic structure of human language, I was like, okay, I'm going to. Plus, I'd finished an album that I was really proud of, so I did some of like my first psychedelic rituals. Like, so rather than doing psychedelic drugs and just like, hey, I'm going to do this recreationally at a concert or whatever, I said, like, I'm going to design a ritual, take a day off, and I'm going to execute the thing. And part of it was to try and get my writing to a wider audience. I mean, not my writing, but actually just my creative, because I was actually working way more in music then, but I'd written a book. So I started doing this. Also, I didn't, discount the fact maybe the Mayans were onto something. So right after December 21st, 2012, my writing got picked up by disinfo.com. So it did, weirdly enough, but my band imploded. So it was like one of those things like, did it work? Well, sort of. But then my writing started getting picked up like right after, like a week after December 21st, 2012, like they posted like the first thing. So my writing that I'd been working on did in fact start getting to a way wider audience. And once that happened, there was this other thing that was going on in my life, which is I've been doing kind of occult stuff, and I'd initiated what I would refer to as knowledge and conversation with your holy guardian angel or alien. And so, the infamous HGA, which, as I found out in retrospect, nobody is writing about. Like, you read these occult literature, and that's what it's all supposed to be about, is making contact with your HGA, and yet, as far as I can tell, I'm the only one writing about this, which is really weird. And, like, I didn't realize that until I've been writing about it on the internet a while. And then they're like, oh, wait, I thought there was, like, this is, like, what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you're an occultist, right? I did this thing. Like, oh, let me go on the internet and relate to all these other people that are doing this. Nobody. Well, there's, like, Grant Morrison 10 years ago, and that's it. And so...
Definitely more in line with the ancient Hermetic idea.
Yeah.
And not the philosophical hermetic, but the kind of the more occultic, what you would call, how would you pronounce that? Where is it? Thaumaturgy or taumaturgy? I don't know. I never knew. The
You got
high
me, man.
magic, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, once that started happening, and I got the impression that, I need to start documenting this stuff better. And there was a part of me that was sort of telling me, because it was just on a daily basis, I would put myself in these meditational states, and I was literally having this conversation with some sort of fifth dimensional entities, right? As crazy as that sounds, but this is what I had to accept. And so right when Disinfo picked up my writing, I had a Facebook account that I used mainly for like promotional purposes, and I just started asking people to friend me on there, and I started like posting this dialogue that I was having with my holy HGA, or Holy Guardian Alien, on Facebook. And I really never planned on releasing this stuff as a book, but what I realized in retrospect is that I actually had predicted the future, or whatever I was communicating with had predicted the future on fairly demonstrable level on multiple occasions. And since I was doing it publicly, it's much harder for the rational part, or the skeptical mind, which is still present in me, to go back and say, oh no, that you didn't do that, because it's in public. People saw it, people commented on it, it's still there. So it kind of led me on this concept. I mean, the book is about the merging of technology and mysticism, and it wasn't something that occurred to me when I was started this project. The reason I started doing this is like I just wanted to fuck with Facebook, like, because Facebook is mostly so stupid. It's simultaneously so cool and yet so fucking dumb, in that like my regular Facebook account that I had, it's like my wife's evangelical parents friended, or cousins friended me there, and like people from my job friended me there. So it had all the like the confines of like dumbass, like like when you go hang out with your family, or or at work, how you doing, man?
Right.
Working hard or hardly working, like the stupid like dull conversation, like editing out all the sex, the drugs, anything fucking interesting about yourself, and you're talking about the weather and sports and shit. Like that's what Facebook was. So I started doing this mainly to be like, I'm gonna put some weird shit on Facebook, and like it's almost like graffiti. Like I'm gonna like kind of get in people's heads, right? But I wasn't really thinking like, oh, I'm gonna predict the future when I did this, and yet I did, and it's all public. So it's a pretty weird, interesting thing for a rationalist to look at and be like, how is this guy that's doing magic somehow predicting the future? And yet there's a large history of science that says this is possible. We've just completely ignored that branch of science. So very, in a way, I'm sort of verifying what a lot of marginalized scientists have been talking about as psi phenomenon for years. And I sort of did that accidentally by broadcasting this knowledge and conversation with my Holy Guardian entities onto Facebook. So yeah.
So this book that you have now is essentially an archive of.
It is. It's kind of like a year in the psychic life. Yeah, that's how I would describe it. And I threw some other things in there. It's not just that, and also there's commentary on each of these things, because it's me looking back on this stuff from the past. So if you went on Facebook, you wouldn't get the entirety of what was. You could go scroll through my feed and read a lot of this stuff if you wanted. And there's a bunch of articles that I wrote on Disinfo during the time. And part of the reason I did that is you can see the relationship between what's going on in my psychic life and what led me to write this articles. I mean, it's really a channeled book in reality. And so it's a part of way of saying some of the stuff that I wrote for Disinfo, it's like this was really like an idea that was channeled to me. And here you can kind of see, here's where I would channel the idea. This is what I was told by these forms that led me to write this piece. And there's also me talking about the psi phenomenon, because if you just read it, I mean, obviously on Facebook, when it was posted, I didn't know what was going to happen a year from when I posted it. So I didn't realize that it was like, hey, this predicted the future, and me kind of explaining that aspect of itself. But yeah, it's sort of like a year in the life, psychic life portrait right after the supposed 2012 shift. I started documenting this knowledge and conversation with my holy guardian angel, and that's what the book is. And yeah, no, very, very amusing and awesome dreams. A lot of stuff about. I think if I was going to talk about spirit world communication, I mean, it commutes in a metaphorical language in your dreams a lot of the time, and that's the other thing to appeal to a rationalist. I mean, I've experimented with these kind of techniques that are generally considered occult, although I definitely been increasingly trying to distance myself from that to a way, especially from magic, because it's just such a bad vibes type of thing. yeah, so if you read this book and the question would be like, if you were, say, a skeptical or materialist, there's a couple questions. One would be, how did he predict the future doing this? And also, it's hard to say that these dreams that I'm having are just, there's the scientific materialist interpretation of dreams, which they're just recountings of your daily life. And if you read my book and you think that, then, I mean, there's nothing I can do for you. Like, if you read this, like, some of this stuff is really fucking weird. It's like, it's hard to say, oh, that's just random recountings of your day. One, when it's picking up on things that happen in the future, and two, when it's just as fucking weird as it is. I mean, I think the book's pretty entertaining. Like, it's a lot more maybe entertaining than I think it's almost art in anything else, and that these dreams I'm having are so strange and honestly humorous in a way. Like, there's a sense of humor to a lot of it that I think is pretty fascinating.
I think, I think that people's experiences, I guess in the context of, shall we say, occult experiences, can inhabit its own space, and I think that scientific exploration or scientific proving of something can inhabit its own space as well. I think so. I think the problem with proving things is that you have to prove something or prove it doesn't exist. And the way it goes is that here's the criteria, and if it doesn't make the criteria, then it goes into this slot of unprovable. And I think that there are a lot of things that we use every day that wouldn't pass that test, per se, like your subconscious. I mean, seriously, prove to me that a subconscious exists. Well, you can't, but we still use this term, and not only that we use it to kind of a useful level, or at least an important, significant level. We do. And there's no way to prove that this thing really exists. If you say something like, even try to be rational and say dreams are just your subconscious talking to you, you really can't prove it. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean that you're wrong with that. You know what I mean? I think there's just some things that how would you even create the criteria?
No, and that's I talk about that in my first book, which is more about magic, which is, on one level, if you're saying your magic is working, you can say, oh, hey, I had an experience or I didn't. Like, I had some kind of communication experience, some kind of weird dream, So on that level, you can say, hey, that worked. I did this thing and I had these weird visions that typically wouldn't have happened to me. That doesn't normally happen to me. I did this stuff and that worked. On the level of whether, because in a way you're trying to influence external reality with inner gestures. You're doing these inner visualization exercises, which are designed to actually, connect you to the larger narrative of reality and tie you into a certain plot. And you're trying to kind of impose your will and say, hey, I want this kind of stuff to happen in the world. In the world, I mean, that's kind of the nature of just kind of what you're doing with sigil casting and whatnot. And that's impossible to test. There's no way. I mean, you can say like I was talking about the acid ritual that I did earlier, and in my writing, part of the design was to get my stuff to a wider audience, and it did, but still, I mean, I don't make a living doing this stuff. I mean, and not only that, it's like, I mean, ultimately the goal was to, at some point, and so it's tough to say. And not only that, there's a factor of time, and there's like a lot of sigils I've done. It really is. It's like, whether it worked on that level, it's basically impossible. That's part of the realm that's at this point just sort of out of touch from science and scientific perspective. But it's interesting to realize, though, that science is the study of things that repeat, right? It's about repeatability. It's about, can we do something repeatably? And no day repeats. The nature of reality, you're never going to live the same day twice. I was just talking about sports. Sports seem like an incredibly mundane thing, right? There's never going to be the same basketball game twice. That doesn't happen, because there's too many variables, or there's a human element. So the advent of time. So science in itself is inherently limited, because you're looking at things that can repeat, and the nature of life doesn't repeat. Like, your life is never going to repeat. Your internal dialogue from day to day is never going to repeat. You might live a similar day, but it's never going to be the same thing. So there's this fundamental chaotic element of life that science is just never going to be able to touch because of that alone, because it's only looking at things that you can repeat you can't repeat fundamental aspects of the human experience. So there's that. Not only that, I think the more you get caught up in the debate between real and not real, I think that's the way to kind of, I think that's the way humanity has kind of been enslaved to a certain extent. We like to think of shared experiences in what we call the material world as real, and inner experience is not real. But that's really sort of an ignorant way of looking at things, because especially from artists, when you're looking at it, because ideas, the material world starts in the immaterial world. You have an idea and then you execute the idea. So it's almost like looking at a pregnant woman and saying the baby isn't real until you spit it out of your vagina, right? It's like that's not real because it's still inside you, and yet so the more, and that's kind of the more you get into the occult and shamanic philosophy, the more you're really breaking down those ideas of what is real and not real, and realizing that it's really one thing. The more you try and separate it into two different things, the less it makes sense. And again, from a scientific level too, what's interesting to point out is, I don't know, I talk about things with psychedelic drugs, and there's this. You can have this crazy experience where you're talking to, fifth dimensional beings made of art on psychedelic drugs, and science says that that's not provable. But that comes from superstition, because we study pharmaceuticals all the time. And I used to work in the mental health field, and I used to administer drugs and monitor how people's behaviors changed, the developmentally disabled adults that I work with, how their behaviors change on these drugs, and that's the way we study drugs. So as much as you can say we can't study these exotic experiences, we can't prove that these things happen, you can in fact demonstrate that very easily that someone's behavior changed. And then it's hard to say how, if someone's behavior went to one thing to another because of this internal experience that they had, how can you say that internal experience wasn't real when it caused something in the physical world to change pretty substantially, and this is just kind of the area you get into. But we live in a culture that's had such a bias against shamanic thought, such a bias. I mean, we eliminated witchcraft and we committed genocide against people that practice shamanism. So we have it pretty ingrained in our culture that these ideas are not legitimate. Our religion is our monotheistic materialist way of looking at the world is the right way, and these ideas are dangerous, and in a way I think they are dangerous to capitalism and organized religion, and so, which is precisely why I write books about them and talk about them, because I think the world needs to change and we need to get away from these ideas. So it is weird. I definitely think you can't understand a lot of this stuff by thinking about it from a materialist or kind of reductionist standpoint, but we have to try. And so, I think part of my writing is an appeal to the materialist mind to say, look, I know you think that this things like magic and the occult are bullshit, but when I do this and I have now all this documentation of these synchronicities and me predicting the future, and that's sort of, it's a degree of qualitative evidence there that there's a little more going on to this than you realize, Anyways.
Yeah, I come from a place where I don't really question it.
Yeah.
I don't question real or unreal anymore, in the sense of I guess if I had a hallucination of something dancing in the street and it kept happening every day and was telling me to kill somebody, I would probably start questioning that. But past that,
is that something you deal with?
Well, you touched on
that. Not really, but but no, I'm just saying, but for me, when it comes to the differences between more of, I guess, what would be called a rational approach and then a mystical approach, I just, to me, I don't try to question the realness or the unrealness of it at all. It just definitely, I feel like there's like this giveaway once you do that, It's like a jinx thing, maybe.
I think well, I mean, honestly, that's one of the bigger things if you're going to, really get into a spiritual practice, is getting to that point, because you have to start acknowledging this stuff, and I think we're programmed to filter it out. You have weird dreams and you have weird visions and maybe some hallucinations, and we're sort of we've programmed ourselves to be just don't pay attention to that because it's not real. So getting to the head state where you're really focusing is rather than saying that this isn't real and I shouldn't pay attention to it, I'm going to pay very close attention to it. and getting to yourself to that point, it does, it requires definitely
When you
sort
have
of.
a sick dream, when you have a dream that's amazing, it's like those are the best. Like when you have an amazing dream in comparison to
Absolutely.
a bad dream. Like bad dreams, of course, you're gonna like any human's gonna look at anything that's bad and not want to like focus on that. They'd rather focus on the good. But
Yeah.
like fucking good dreams, when they're good, God, they're so good. I love
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm an advocate of like psychedelics and dreams, and I'm probably more of an advocate of the potentiality of dreams than psychedelics. I love psychedelics, but I really think that we could develop some technology that really takes dreaming to another level. And as I was talking about my book, like there's a precognitive aspect of it, and like I'm not the only one. That there's actually some scientists that are studying this right now with dreams, the precognitive aspects of dreams, and that just question. And the reason we hate this stuff is because it really does. It challenges everything we know about reality. Like we all act as like I don't try and point fingers. Like I act as if materialism is real. That part of me is still intact, but we all sort of act like that is. As culturally, we act as if this one version of reality is. Yeah.
I agree with you about that, but I also think there's a linguistic part to it as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the prison that a lot of humans are in the sense of behavior patterns and things like that are deep inside of language, and the language they use, or the language they were taught with, and they created these parameters in their mind of behavior and repeatable behavior in their life that does that too. I think too that maybe some of our modern institutions, I don't think they meant to, but I think it also has created the same type of patterns through linguistics and things like that too. And that's a motherfucker with people is words.
Yeah, no, and this is again, kind of, more shamanic. You're it really is like an inverted way of thinking about things because the internal dialogue, we don't talk about this, but we look at people as being these physical beings, and yet ultimately, you're kind of summoned. You look at it from a more standpoint of common consciousness, and you're kind of summoned into this reality, right? And then eventually, you start learning language. People around you are talking, and then that takes hold, and then you have this internal dialogue that goes for the rest of your life. Like it starts, and then it goes, and so your world is really made up of language to a large extent. And yeah, no, absolutely. What I was talking about earlier, like with Facebook and what I'm trying to do. Not only that. Hypnosis is I think I get the impression like we just love to just pretend that hypnosis just isn't a thing. So there's a lot of weird aspects of psychology like psychedelics, remote viewing, and hypnosis and out-of-body experiences, which I've experimented with as well, that we ignore all of them. And hypnosis is a pretty interesting one because it basically just says that the power of suggestion, your consciousness does come from suggestion, which is why advertising works so much. Which is why advertisers are constantly putting things places to get in your head, and it works. And I know this myself. How many times I'm in a grocery store and I come out and all of a sudden I'm singing some shitty song that I haven't heard in like 10 years, and then you're like, why am I suddenly singing that song? And you realize, oh, they were playing that on the shitty playlist in the grocery store that I was in. It wasn't that song randomly, so they literally influenced your consciousness, by playing that song. It got in your head, and then now you're singing this song because they planted it there. So yeah, I mean, that's a part of what I'm trying to do with my writing, and why I was doing what I'm doing with Facebook is because people are looking at, their friends' breakfasts and whatever on Facebook, or just kind of a lot of mundane stuff. Of course, I've been surprised at how political Facebook has been with the upcoming elections, but and I wanted to put, hey, here's weird occult ideas about lucid dreaming and stuff. So all of a sudden people's in their feeds, and now all of a sudden rather than thinking about whatever, they're thinking about that. And hopefully the idea is that would influence their consciousness, to a certain extent. And hopefully if you read my book or my books, that influences your consciousness and actually opens the door by kind of power of suggestion to the ideas that, this kind of weird dreaming or experience of communicating with a higher dimensional being is something that could happen to you too, but it's just a matter of somebody tinkering with the language correctly in your brain to make that happen. So yeah, that's literally what I'm trying to do on purpose, is working on those kind of working on that premise and trying to produce conscious experience in the people that run into my work. And weirdly enough, I've had a decent amount of people say, it's all theoretical, but I've had a decent amount of people, message me to say that it did. And tell me about these experiences that they've had where I started reading your book and then all these weird synchronicities came into my life, right when I was reading it. And,
What?
so So I sort of look at my book as being like technology in a way. Like the design is to actually create conscious experience in the person that's reading it, and it's all theoretical, but you know, there's some indication that I've gotten from fans of my stuff that it does work. So yeah. Anyways.
I think a lot of the memification of things on Facebook imprints onto your mind.
Yeah.
Cody is a prolific poster of memes, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, are you? Nice.
Do you think that memes imprint your consciousness to kind of, I guess, color it or tint it towards a certain mood or something? If you're inundated with this, with images all the time when you're
Yeah,
scrolling
like
on Facebook.
if you keep posting like nothing but like sad and loneliness and all that shit,
Yeah.
that you'll probably end up being sad and lonely if you just post those kind of memes. Honestly, I've done it and I've been there. But then again, there's also an irony to it that I enjoy. I don't think so much that it's like it's not like I live my life by jet fuel melting steel beams.
Right.
But anyways, I just think memes they're interesting, they're fun. Lately, I've just been really getting into like more architecture, like landscape designs. I think they're just really awesome aesthetics. I don't know.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, on what Core's talking about there, I played in a metal band for years, and actually this is why I said I'm almost like I call myself an occultist, and yet Christianity has been so successful at slandering the occult as being this negative demon worship, and they've been so successful at it that a lot of people that get into this stuff get into it from that angle, as if embracing this concept of negativity and evil is somehow rebelling against their childhood or Christianity or whatever they're rebelling against. But ultimately, what I've experienced it, and my point is, like, those are the exact wrong people. I mean, because if you channel negativity, you shouldn't be surprised when that works. You know, if you like do a ritual and you're like, man, I really want bad things to happen, like
Yeah.
that's going to happen. Like, you're going to manage. So when you're coming at this from the occult, from like, I want to be awful and evil, it's like, well, don't be. If you embrace self-destruction, don't be surprised when you self-destruct. If you embrace, like, I want, and I hate to say it, this has been years of me reading some of these spooky dark occultist posts, and like they're talking about how I'm trying to channel Satan, and like, how'd that go? It didn't go very well, did it? Like, things that kind of blew up in your face. Like, that wasn't a good idea. Like, and
I think half of them are full of shit, though.
Oh, absolutely,
like those dudes
yeah.
Yeah, but no, I completely understand what you're saying. It's the thinker thing. As the thinker thinks, the prover proves, as old Robert Anton Wilson one time said.
But I'd go further with that and saying, like, part of the reason that I think about these things is I was and actually when I first got into kind of doing magic is like I was in a metal band and was a very angry, like, I was never, I've never been like
a stoner metal band or like a thrash band?
Like an angry political band. Like, I don't know, I would call us like a combination between like Bad Religion and At the Drive-In or something like that. Like, yeah, so like very angry political, except it was where, it was spiritual stuff because I was still into that. But I realized I did that for 4 years and then I stopped. And what I realized was, as much as I love angry music, like the idea, like when you're spending that much of your psychic energy fixating on stuff that pisses you off, that's not good for you. Like, it wasn't good for my mental health to spend, and it was just creative things too. Like, I make way more psych music. Like, that's what I always wanted to do. But I wanted to be a band. This is the band I found. And yeah, no, I was like a yelling and writing all these angry political kind of lyrics, and it's like, that wasn't good for my mental health, man. Like, spending your time like adopting this persona of the angry person, the guy who's pissed off.
Did you get laid from it though? Was there any
indirectly. That's like through people that I knew through the band. In fact, my wife I actually met through that band. But I don't know. Part of that was just that I was kind of like in a relationship with a lot of the band. Yeah, we definitely played shows where women came on to me, and it was like, yeah, that's great, but my girlfriend's right there, that kind of thing. No, but yeah, no, and like, so it is a weird thing. It's like I think that kind of art is very important, but. And it's very, and I like a lot of it, but if you're going to do that, I think you have to be really careful to make sure that that's a catharsis and you're recognizing it as such. Like you're saying, like I am doing this to purge this sort of stuff, this aspect of myself out of myself, because and I think you'd have to kind of create a persona outside of that that's distant from it, or otherwise it would kind of eat you alive. I mean, and I think you actually see that a lot. That
Absolutely.
a lot of people that get into this kind of stuff, it's like they end up being alcoholics or hooked on shitty drugs, and God, I was essentially drinking myself to death at that point in my life too. So it was just
every so often, then I get really upset and I clear out the living room and I play Pantera's Walk.
Cowboys.
I dab for about 5 minutes, and I'm good. I'm really good after that.
Really shit I've heard all day.
That's the thing is, I love metal. Like, and that's like I love metal. Like, I wouldn't have been playing this kind of music if I didn't like it. It's so. Yeah, no.
Dad, where are you from?
Me, I live in Seattle now.
Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Ohio for the most part. Yeah. Kind of split. My parents had joint custody. Are you guys both from Texas, or?
I'm originally from Virginia Beach, actually.
Were we both from Texas because we're Southern?
Oh no, I knew Ken was from Texas. I did. Where are you?
Southern's from Texas.
Where are you from, Cody?
I'm from Arkansas.
Arkansas, gotcha.
From the Ozark Mountains. I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas, home of the Hogs.
Oh, nice.
Home of the Hogs.
I'm not. It's Arkansas Razorbacks, and they call them the Hogs here. Like when you drive on the road, someone will on the side of the road paint "Go Hogs Go," and it'll have a Razorback.
Oh, in Tennessee, it's the same. In East Tennessee, it's the same with UT. Like everything is orange. Like everything. Yeah.
Everything's red and white here.
I went to school at Ohio State, man. Yeah, oh man, the Buckeye. It's
OSU.
Buckeye.
Yeah. No, I'm a Buckeye.
Home of Kevin Randleman, one of the MMA Hall of Famers.
I had no idea how obsessed with college football that place was until I moved there. It was sort of a shock. It was pretty fucking weird. Yeah.
I had a football shirt from there when I was younger. Whenever I didn't buy my own clothes, I had a Buckeyes one. And that's it.
It's always in bad taste.
Yeah.
Well, it is too. You're talking about in Arkansas. It's in places where there isn't because Columbus, there's no pro basketball or football team or whatever. So that's why college football. So in Arkansas, I imagine the same thing since there's no.
We got the Hogs.
Yeah, exactly.
We got football and basketball Hogs. That's it. We don't have nothing special. Nothing more, nothing less. We have Walmart. We created Walmart in Arkansas.
Oh, Bill Clinton was born in Arkansas. I think that should come to people's minds if you think of Arkansas, though.
He actually invented vaporwave with the saxophone.
He sure as fuck did, up in Arsenio Hall. I love that. I watched clips of Arsenio Hall's old show. I love Steven Seagal. When he came up there and he was all serious, that's the best episode ever of Arsenio Hall. Please Google that. It's amazing.
Was that what they did? Did they get the dog pound thing right?
Woof, woof, that's right. That's right.
Woof, woof, woof.
Yep.
Man, I hadn't thought of Arsenio Hall in a long time. Didn't he have a brief comeback? Didn't that show make a brief comeback?
He did, but it was nowhere near that magical time in the early 90s.
Yeah.
When I watched it on a little green television. I loved that. That was a great little talk show. And then when I got older and saw it again, it held up. It was pretty interesting, They always have little silly moments, but that was a pretty cool little gig that he had. Yeah, I live for any moment that Steven Seagal starts cracking on camera.
Yeah, Steven Seagal.
I love Steven Seagal stories. I love that he got choked out and shat himself. I love that he claims he taught MMA. One of the greatest MMA fighters, Anderson Silva, the front kick. He's amazing. He's such a bullshitter. I love it. He's an Arizona cop, he's a Louisiana cop, and he's Border Patrol.
He has a TV show. Yeah. Is it still going?
I don't know.
Didn't I hear that I thought he got into legal trouble or something,
yes,
because his TV show he was actually trying to be a cop or something, and I think it got into some murky legal waters. I might be totally wrong about that. I have to check my sources on that.
I know allegedly he had some sex trafficking allegations that he had. That's for real.
Right.
I heard about that. That was a couple of years ago. But yeah, I mean, I know he was made an honorary police officer in Louisiana, and I think he's technically on some kind of reserve force or something. I think that's how they got away with it, because, you know, look at him. I mean, here's the thing. Steven Seagal's like, he's 6'5". He's a big guy. You know what I mean? He might be way out of shape, but he's a big guy. So I mean, if you're a little guy, you got your hands full with him. But I mean, really, he was hilarious on that show. He was doing like wrist locks to people, and like when he does demonstrations, he's known for being a dick and like holding it too long on people and shit like that. And I love I love Steven Seagal stories. He is the most hilarious guy in the world.
Have you listened to his music? Because I know he's a musician too.
Yes.
Is it good or?
Oh, it's just that white guy blues, that Bruce Willis blues stuff, you know. Yeah. You know.
God, what was Bruce Willis' song? You just brought that up. He had, because Bruce Willis had one hit song and it was like a cover or something. I remember.
Yeah.
Man, we're getting into some old school nostalgia shit here.
Exactly.
Did you guys
like a robe?
Did you guys grow up? Sorry, did you guys grow up in the generation, because Steven Seagal came up? Because like I know when I was a kid, and I don't know if this is, I guess it's just all superhero movies these days. But man, like when I was a kid, like any movie by Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, or
Smashed it. Smashed it.
I had to see every single one of them. Like every one of those guys, any one of those dudes came out with a movie, I had to see all of those movies. Like when I was growing up as a kid.
This shit will turn you into a sexual Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I love those old movies, man. What are you talking about? Those are amazing. Those are amazing.
Yeah, no, it was, and like all my friends did too. It was like when we were growing up, it's like everybody saw all of those movies. It wasn't like just me. It was like, man, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, like, I loved Schwarzenegger as a kid.
Jesse Ventura.
Oh yeah, Jesse Ventura, Predator.
So do you guys in Disinfo, are you guys like pro Jesse Ventura, or are you guys like, do you think he's full of shit, or like where do you guys stand with old Ventura?
I think there's no cohesion to Disinfo whatsoever. Like
I feel you.
There really isn't. Like there was probably some people that post there. I mean, mainly because they don't actually pay for people to post there, and like the Huffington Post and stuff. So I mean, it's good. It gets your stuff out to a wider audience. But like, so yeah, no, there's a bunch of contributors, and yeah, I mean, there's been people that have contributed, posted stuff on there. That's like, that's the other thing is I don't know if it seems like it's maybe changed slightly, but there was a while where Disinfo, it seemed like people post stuff because they thought it was so preposterous a lot of the time, you know? It's like,
it became like the Weekly World News.
Yeah, so like sometimes they're posting stuff because like look at how fucking batshit insane this is. Like, you know, I mean,
man gives birth. No, that's a fact.
Yeah, no, so I mean there was definitely stuff that was posted on Disinfo. I mean, like there was like, you know, Sandy Hook false flag shit. Like someone was posting on there like anti-climate change stuff.
Trauma actors.
Yeah, so
trauma actors.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an odd site, and like, yeah, they don't seem to really be too organized or. There doesn't. I've like tried to kind of get more behind the scenes. I've been writing there for like 3 years, and like, yeah, it's weird. They considered putting me on my book for a while, and eventually passed on it after like wasting 6 months of my time. But you know, I don't know. Yeah, then I found out it was bought by another company, and it's who knows.
I love Jesse Ventura's shit.
Yeah, no, he's pretty interesting. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not with him. It's not like that, because I mean he's just he's like remember that show Sightings in the 90s on Sci-Fi Network?
Yeah, I used to watch. I love that show.
Yeah, there was a whole genre that doesn't exist anymore. Is this kind of, you know, weird world shows? I love those, but you know, during that time when they did like kind of like 3 segments, that's kind of Jesse Ventura. You know what I mean? He has like all the different causes, but really he's just listing a bunch of weird America type stuff and conspiracy theories. But he's hilarious because he gets up there in the media and kind of revamped himself again as a pro wrestler once again, and did all that stuff. And I love the intro of his show too.
I was a wrestler, a warrior, a governor. I've done it all.
I love his voice. I wish he would read me stories at night.
Yeah, God, that guy managed to be the governor of Minnesota. That's pretty fucking crazy. I've never actually seen his conspiracy theory thing, because you're right. I know he had that like conspiracy theory show. I've never actually watched it.
Watch out, Minnesota. There's a new governor in town. Jesse Ventura.
God,
He'll always be from Predator for me. I can't think of Ventura.
Exactly,
Predator.
exactly.
Yeah, it's just always Predator to me. The fact that there was 2 future governors in that movie. I mean, that's like one of those things if you went back in time and, you know, there's no amount of science that can predict that. Like, 2 people in this movie will be governors. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's true.
Man, Predator was one of the best. That's a all-time watch for me. I can watch that anytime, and just watch Predator.
God, you're making me want to kick this. Yeah, it's been a while. I've watched. God, I even like there was a couple like Alien vs Predator movies that I liked, and like most people thought those were stupid, and I kind of liked them.
I'll still watch them because they're part of the franchise. I'm a franchise loyalist to only a couple of things. Hellraiser's one of them, and I'll stick by them. I don't care. They'll do stupid shit.
I am not. So have you seen all of the Hellraiser movies? Because there's like 15 of them now.
Even the bad ones.
Yes, I just recently like watched like I don't know, maybe like a year ago, watched like 3 or 4 of the ones that I didn't even know existed, and yet from scanning on my Netflix was like, oh my god, there's 3, and of course they all had horrible reviews, and yet I watched them and kind of liked them anyways, most of them. But yeah, no, I've seen literally, and that's the only horror movie like that. I'm not really that big a horror guy, but I've seen pretty much every Hellraiser movie that they've made, even the ones that were made like 2 years ago that aren't good.
I love them. I love them. I'm a big Clive Barker fan. I don't know if he doesn't have anything to do with them anymore, but I was always a big fan of his stuff. So for me, like Nightbreed's my favorite horror movie ever. So I mean.
Oh, with David Cronenberg as an actor, isn't that right?
Yes, and speaking of. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a huge Cronenberg fan, actually. Yeah, no, so he's like the one kind of horror director. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge horror fan, and like David Lynch and David Cronenberg are 2 of my favorite directors of all time.
Naked Lunch, man.
Oh.
Naked Lunch was
Velvet,
amazing.
dude.
Yeah, Blue Velvet.
Duet?
Yeah, Blue Velvet.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah. Lost Highway is another great one.
Oh, Lost Highway. Lost Highway I love because it doesn't make sense any way you try and piece it together. I love that about it. It's just like it doesn't matter what theory you come up with for what the hell's going on in that movie. Like, you can start coming up with a theory about Lost Highway, and then you're like, yeah, but there's this hole in that theory and this hole. Like, the fact that it's just so dreamy and completely illogical is kind of fucking awesome. Yeah,
I love that. I love how normal David Lynch is when he's behind, when he's being interviewed or whatever. He's almost so normal that it like shows cracks or something. I love that about him.
Yeah. The new Twin Peaks is coming out. It'll be interesting. Yeah, they're filming it. They're filming that. It's not far from here. I could have I guess gone and tried to be an extra on it if I wanted. So, because they film it in like North Bend, which is it's like I don't know, a 45-minute drive away from Seattle or something like that.
If you had a DC Talk T-shirt, you would have stood out.
I don't know why I don't have a DC Talk T-shirt. No,
I don't know. I'm a Jesus freak.
The funny thing about that is when I was in school is we were listening. I mean, at that point in my life when DC Talk was I was going to church and because that's the funny thing is I know about DC Talk through church. That was church sanctioned music. There were in our youth group they brought in DC Talk and were like, hey, do you this is church approved stuff. Why don't you guys listen to some good Jesus-y stuff? And so we all took the tape home and dubbed it and passed it around. And at that point we were listening to NWA and shit, right? So we thought it was so bad. They tried to push it on us, and all of us are like, this is awful. What? This is the worst thing. They tried to pass it around, and nobody even copied the tape or everything, and everyone was just like, F this. We see your Christian crap.
My grandma is an immigrant from Germany, but she's originally Polish, and she she wasn't hip on a bunch of what was cool and was going on at the time. And I was a little kid, and I got her to buy me Ice Cube's The Predator because you couldn't buy it. I was 11 years old. That blew my mind when I listened to that album. That album blew my mind. You're talking about listening to NWA. It brings me back to those days. And I remember listening to that. The first part of that album. I can't remember how it went anymore. But
and you know what blows my mind in retrospect? I'm a LP and Run the Jewels and Killer Mike and stuff like that. And so in reading some interviews with Killer Mike, because he talked about how good Ice Cube's It's not the Predator. Shit, I'm spacing on the actual album. America Triple K's Most Wanted. So Killer Mike talks about that. So I went up and I grabbed it from the library, and I listened to it a few times. And what struck me out as most in retrospect is like, Jesus, yeah, this is good and it's political and it's very pertinent, today, just as pertinent today as it was back then. Except it's also the most misogynist album I think I have ever heard in my life. It's like, it's unbelievable how misogynist that record is. It's just like, it's all bitches ain't shit, God, there's, songs about, yeah, it's crazy. So it was this weird thing of me getting into it and being like, wow, yeah, the political climate really has changed. Except I guess not that much in hip hop, but like, man, yeah, that is some seriously, it's a seriously over the top misogynist record.
It's weird when things stop holding up. It's always weird when something that still seems, even by some stretch of the imagination, somewhat modern or something like that, and then you go back to it and you're like, geez, wow, it's like from the dark ages. It's crazy how things are so different now.
Yeah,
it's weird, and yeah, that's one of them. When you listen to that, you're like, this shit could never sell. Like,
yeah,
ever.
No,
You're never gonna make it.
What's weird is though, what's funny about that though is like feminism has become, and I'm glad, although I find it, I think that the fact that feminists aren't really talking about like popular feminism, it's like, rather than talking about like how 90% of violence is committed by men, or maybe say the perpetuation of the military and how, like 35% of women in the military get raped, or there's all kinds of issues, or religion. I think that we were talking about that earlier. I think it's nice to talk about the patriarchy, but we're just not going to talk about fundamentals of religion, because like these are the people that are trying to take your like reproductive rights away, and so it's
right.
so it's become and catcalling, and it's like, really, like but simultaneously it's super positive that feminism is I'm so glad, because like during the Bush administration in the early 2000s, it would like became this bad word, and so it's great that it's become this trendy thing, and yet it's this like watered down corporate version of it, but it's still a positive thing. But one thing that doesn't seem to be addressed a lot is hip hop. Like hip hop is still like, that's the most popular form of music among especially the young people, and two, it's so misogynist. Like a lot of it is just so misogynist. It's unbelievable. Like it's like
so. I think so, but I get really apprehensive when it comes to hip hop, because it's not my culture. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. Yeah. Well, that's why feminism won't touch it, because it's a social justice kind of thing. Like, oh, but we can't. Everything's racism, everything's sexism. So because of that, and I'm not saying this, I have finally seen some feminists like Kanye West. There was a piece on Vice about a woman talking about how I legitimately can't. Like Kanye West, who has been declared a genius by Pitchfork, and like all the mainstream, alternative press or whatever has basically said this man is God as a creative standpoint, and yet his music is incredibly misogynist, and so it's been nice to see. Action Bronson apparently has gotten banned from a couple of college events that he's been because of his misogyny as a lyric. So like finally they're talking about that, which has always been, and I get it too. Hey, like I don't feel like hey, I'm a white guy. It's hard for me to say, hey, hip hop is really misogynist, and maybe if you were a feminist that'd be a problem for the exact reason you're exactly what you're saying. But simultaneously, I don't. The fact that the most popular music is also some of the most misogynist music, I think there's something that feminism should probably be saying about that, and when you look at statistics like, violence against women has considerably gone up among younger people, I would say that maybe that has something to do with it. Obviously, it's not the major factor, but I think it's a factor, for sure. Anyways.
I think Action Bronson's doing a Vice show now, right? Cooking.
Yeah. There's a whole Vice channel.
Yeah, he's having people teaching people how to cook stuff.
Yeah, I would love to eat his food because he's fat as fuck. Never trust him.
How weird is it? How weird is it that like my wife's uncle, who's in his 60s, checked out the new Vice channel before I did, even though he's never heard of Vice, because it's just like a channel he added to their cable, like, right? So I was out to eat with him a while ago, and he's telling me about all these Vice shows which I'd never seen because I didn't, I knew they launched their channel, but I just hadn't had a time to. And so yeah, I mean, I think it shows you like how there are still so many people that aren't obsessed with the internet. That was an interesting conversation because he'd never heard of Vice. He had no idea what it was, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, hey, there's a new channel on my cable." Like,
Vice is grown. too, like a
Yeah,
weed.
it's grown. It's gotten pretty enormous, you know.
Yeah.
Now
And
65-year-olds are watching it, you know.
yeah, and it's in the plan for Vice. I mean, they've got like world domination in the media world and in conspiratorial world, but they have world
Yeah.
domination on their mind with that. They want that to be a huge media network, and I think they'll do it. I mean, they're getting there.
Hey, it's like I can be fairly critical, but I mean, it's at least that news show on HBO is pretty. I mean, like I don't know what that says about. We're talking about how drugs influence behavior. I don't know what that says when like a hipster site is the real news because the real news is so corrupt that it won't be the news. So it like takes like a site because like when I started out, it was all about like sex and drugs, you know, and like way back in the day, that was kind of my critique on them. Is like they were very pro cocaine back in the day, and they sort of changed the position on it. But back in like the early 2000s when I first came to Vice, when cocaine was huge under the Bush administration, at least it was in Seattle, like it's died down because people realized that, you know, a lot of it was cattle dewormer, and this is a true story. Like literally there was articles about how most of the coke you're snorting is cattle dewormer, so coke is like, but there was a huge explosion in the early 2000s. Vice was part of that, and like I don't know what that says though, that like we need a hipster site that was all about sex and drugs and cocaine, and that's become like so much more legitimate news source than anything you're going to see on the regular news. Like that's
It was
that's
founded
pretty,
by like two punk rockers, essentially.
Yeah.
It's only down to one now. The one guy, I forgot what his name is, but the other guy, Gavin something, he's moved on to do his own thing because he's turned into this conservative Christian. But he's not.
Oh, really?
But he's a cursing, smoking kind. But he's a conservative Christian. It's very odd. But yeah.
Those are everywhere down here. Like I'm related to most of those people.
Oh, it's everywhere too. My wife, on my wife's side of the family, we have my wife's aunt and uncles that are. It's weird too because they're very wealthy, but like like I didn't believe these people existed. Like they literally like. And you're talking about too, like it's bizarre too because they're really like the girls and like they're gorgeous. They literally like are people that wait till marriage. Like I didn't believe these people existed, but yeah, these people literally don't have sex till marriage. Like they're that conservative, you know, gay. So yeah, it's not just, you know, in the South. Like it's everywhere. Like I live in Seattle, which is supposedly liberal, and like it's here. There's been a couple enormously successful, super conservative churches, you know, out here. It's maybe not as big, but it's everywhere.
I bet a lot of them are experiencing anal sex though.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I didn't believe that when I was younger. Like people had told me that some conservative people, they're like, you know, that's like the pillow talk. Like you can't have actual sex, but you know, talk to me in anal. And then I've talked to enough people that have said that. Oh yeah, no, I was a super Christian girl, and yeah, I talked to her in anal before she was ready, which is just.
We fucked anal doggy style while listening to Newsboys.
Audio adrenaline.
And DC Talk. The Jesus freak.
Under oath.
Under oath.
Oh my God!
Creed
Creed
was the worst though, man. Creed was the worst. I don't know. I will say it's a spiritual part of me that we were talking about that earlier. That like watching that guy's horrific downslide. You know, I did feel bad for the guy because there was a part of me, I hated that band so much when they were so popular, and you'd want to just be like, oh, how awesome is it that you douchebag, you know, and you want to laugh at him, but it was actually just sort of sad, man.
But here's the thing, Scott Stapp had a douchebag.
I remember those. That was last year, wasn't it, or year before last?
It was last year.
I think he is on a reality show, but he did one of those reality rehab shows. I don't follow that. And
he also had a douchebag reputation when Creed was Creed. I mean, when they got
kicked out of Creed. He got kicked out of Creed.
Yeah,
they started another band without him, like called Alter Bridge. How do I know this shit? Alter Bridge.
Mark Tremonti.
I'm Mark Tremonti, and check out this Freed Smith from hell.
I think that was the day that
Cat Stapp's tears on this Mark Tremonti PRS.
Man, those were the days of guitar. That was the day of the Guitar World magazine when you'd crack open one and there was Mark Tremonti with his black nail polish.
I think that's when I officially realized that I could never really buy a Guitar World magazine anymore. Is when they named him like their guitarist of the year one year, and they were just like, okay, you guys are off like the artistic roll call forever. Like I can't read guitar anymore.
Let's go there. Let's make a mistake.
Yeah, known as signature PR guitar. Yeah, oh yeah.
The Mark You got quadruple humbuckers with fucking Scott Stapp's tears and the inlays, motherfucker. What?
For
Big
him.
man running through a Mesa quadruple rectifier.
For him. He died for you.
Man, if you ever want to get depressed about the world, think about the fact that there was a market for those Paul Reed Smith Mark Tremonti. Like, people bought the Mark Tremonti signature model guitar. Like, and those were expensive too. Like, those were like $1,500 or something. Like, there was enough people that liked Creed enough that they would spend $1,500 to have Mark Tremonti's signature fucking guitar, man.
I'm trying to get that.
It's a weird world.
Bro. Got a triple rectifier ready to fucking go, son. Mesa, son.
Mesa. Mesa Boogie. Yeah.
Mesa Boogie. Triple rectifier, son. Quad rectifiers when I play the fucking Creed stuff on.
Get that crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've been messing around. I don't even know what a rectifier is. What is a rectifier on a guitar? What does that do? Like, I'm a guitar player. I have no idea. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, you know,
It sounds dirty.
you know, I remember
It's
selling like instruments and stuff, and like trying to make sales to people because I had money in it, so I wanted to make the money and shit.
Yeah.
And I remember having to like bullshit half the time because half the buzzwords were just bullshit. They really were. It's like they put like a copper plate.
rectifier is a total buzzword. Obviously, you know that.
Yeah, I always have to do that. Like we sold like Randall amps and shit like that, and it would you push this button, and this is the cut. I remember Custom put out something where they had a balls knob. It was
Balls.
seriously, and people would be like, "What does the balls knob do?" I'm like, it gives it balls. You know, it's God.
Gives it balls. What
The guitar world
I'm
died
guessing.
because of it.
Oh, you know what, guys? I actually had to head out of here. Sorry, man. An hour later, head out. Shit, it's been fun talking with both y'all. But I just realized I was like, my wife. I was like, oh shit, we're supposed to go out to dinner here.
It's Saturday night date night, so
Yeah,
have
exactly.
a great time.
Exactly.
What are you going to eat? Do you know?
I don't actually know yet. I'm gonna go find out right now.
Just my
Pizza.
suggestion.
Eat
Yeah.
some pizza.
Well, anyways, man, it's been good. It's been great talking to you guys. Definitely, listeners, check out my book, Transmissions from Outside of Time.
And where can we get it?
It's on Amazon. It's only a $5 download. So yeah, just check it on there. If you want the regular book, it's up there too. It's $14. Excellent talking to y'all. Sorry for completely fucking up the times. Showing
No,
up
that's okay.
an hour late.
That's okay. Everybody, you can catch him at Thad McKraken on Facebook, Thad McKraken on Disinfo, and on Amazon. You can get his new book. And we will talk to you later, my friend.
Indeed. Yeah, and let me know when this is up. Excellent. Talk to you soon, Ken. All right.
Bye.
Nice meeting you, Cody.
Yeah, that's that.
Sweet. Sweet.
So, Mark Tremonti.
Mark Tremonti, son. Let's talk about that gray flame top with the fucking 4 rows with the quad humbucker, son.
I've
That's
got,
Each humbucker goes straight to the tube of the fucking Mesa amp.
fret locks on my nut. Never going out of tune.
It's never going out of tune, dude, and it's at 432.
I also got one of the Dime Bolt series, Dimebag Daryl from.
Oh, is
Washburn.
it the honey? Is it the B one?
It's the Washburn one.
Or is it the lightning bolt? It's got lightning bolts on it.
Yeah, the blue lightning bolt. I wish I had that. Amazing play. I played it before, and it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it makes sense. My baby child girl is my 1999 American Strat Deluxe. I love that thing. Ash body with a maple neck. It's red, transparent, with a red torso pickup. It's mine. I love that thing. And I run it through a 94 DeVille.
Oh, vintage.
Like American, the blueback Jensen's. Yeah.
I have a few amps laying around. I have that very custom 100 watt with the balls knob on it, actually. I have a 94 Crate DX 40.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got the backwards effect on it. It was really cool.
That's sweet.
Yeah, and it was like the early days of digital technology too, so it didn't suck.
Exactly.
It was better. I don't know how to explain it, but it sounded better. And I've got, of course, I've got a little Lion 6 150 watt because that's what I teach out of because it's just so easy to use. You switch settings really fast. I've got a little PV and I've got a little Vox over here.
AC30?
A Vox AC30?
Yeah.
No. I've got the little modeling amp.
The AC, it's AC15? I don't know. It's the small one, like this big, right? Like a little lunchbox.
It's a 40 watt amp.
Oh, okay. Then maybe the 15.
But yeah, it's one of those little modeling amps that came out like 08 or something like that. I picked that up and I teach out of both of those. And then
is it a 12-inch speaker?
Yes.
Sick. Tube?
No, solid state.
Okay.
Yeah, it just something. I just needed those two things: the Line 6 and the Vox modeling amps, so I can.
What's your guitar? What's your go-to guitar?
My go-to guitar, I don't have right now. My baby got stolen from me a while ago. It was a 1982 Fender Telecaster. It was an American, and but Telecasters are my go-to guitar, really. But I have right now a Mutant monster guitar that I use that has also a MIDI pickup on it.
Nice.
It's like this. It was a Devlin, but now it's a Mutant. I turned it into something else. So that's my go-to guitar right now. I have an Ibanez, and I'm also searching on the lookout for a Telecaster here and there when I can find one that I like.
Do you like the thin lines?
I like the thin lines, but I still want a stock, or just a regular old stock heavy chainsaw Telecaster.
Yeah,
I love those. And I've got a couple of classical guitars, and I've got a couple of dreadnoughts, and like a mandolin, and I've got an electric drum kit so I can jam at 4 a.m.
Nice.
And I got a million fucking musical instruments actually, a million. And so yeah, talking about new metal in guitar was fascinating.
That was interesting.
Those were dark days.
Hey, that was what it's cool. This is
Did the guy from Linkin Park have a Paul Reed song too?
Yeah, he did. They both played them. They were actually, I think at first they used an Ibanez RG series of some sort, and then they used Paul Reed Smith, like Modern Eagle, like 22, 24, or whatever the fuck.
And of course, Santana.
Oh, he's got his Carlos Santana signature, bro.
Yeah, those are nice. Those actually are nice.
Honestly, though, I'm a Fender guy.
I'm a Fender Telecaster guy, but I like some of Washburn's stuff, but they're high-end stuff for electric guitars.
So, like Guild, I love Guild stuff. Like,
how can you hate Guild for acoustics? I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, well, also hollow bodies. God, those electrics are sick.
I would really like to have a Godin nylon string electric. That's what I want to have one day. Those things are expensive as fuck, though.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Yeah, they are. The Washburn, hollow bodies, like the I don't know the name. I like Gretsch's also.
Oh, of course. Country Gentleman.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. My cousin actually has like one from like 61, and it's Hank Williams or Chet Atkins.
Oh, nice.
One, yeah.
Nice. It's always stressful when you get a student that wants to learn the Chet Atkins style.
Yeah, good look on that one.
It always gets frustrating. I always hope that they're like amazing already, and they never are.
Yeah.
So like bulk them up first. It's like somebody coming in at $150 into a boxing gym, being like, I would like to fight Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, all right.
Okay,
no, I can't.
Exactly.
I've thrown Nux up at the back bar. So you're like, oh shit. See, it's the same thing. Yeah, I always hate that. Especially, I had one that wanted to learn the Entertainer and Chet Atkins' version of it, and I was like, oh come on, man, ragtime. And he wasn't very good at finger picking, and he wouldn't do his practice either. It always happens too. It's always that same kind of person. They have that lofty goal, and they're not doing anything for it.
I understand. My roommates right now are in the kitchen blasting PZA. This is, and I don't. It's like songs I don't even listen to anymore. It's like stuff I released like last year.
I like to wake up and play your stuff when I'm doing my sun salutation yoga routine.
Dude, what? Say that again?
I said I like to play your stuff in the morning when I do my sun salutation yoga routine.
Nice.
I have a tatami mat made of.
Well, that's a good thing to do that music to. Yeah, definitely. I don't really do much yoga. I'd like lay in bed and work on music. But a lot of my friends do yoga, and I've heard that, like, it was kind of weird. I had this conversation last night that someone did yoga to some of my stuff, and they enjoyed it. And then you just said it, and it's like, I guess it's true.
But I was lying.
Oh, you can lie to me all you want to. It's fine.
Lie to me.
If you want to.
Tell me lies.
Tell me lies. Yeah.
Just like Ronnie said.
Be my little baby.
What? That was a lame song in my.
What year were you born? And okay? Do you want the collab? Like, do you want me to send you an album to release on your label?
Oh, I would love that. That'd be absolutely amazing.
Okay. Well, I will get started on it, and whenever it's ready, I'll just ask you for your email.
Nice.
Biz,
Yeah, I was born in 1982 on the Bayou.
Born in 87.
Up in heaven.
That's right. Flying high in heaven.
That's right. So, let's talk about what you. How do I phrase this? Where do you see your stuff going in the sense of vocal music, either rapping or singing?
Yeah, rapping would be cool. I'm fine with that. Or I mean, singing. I have rapped before on some of my other stuff on an album called Calling All Creeps, and I sing on it as well. And it has me and a bunch of my friends from Fayetteville like singing and rapping on it throughout the album, and it came out alright. You check it out, Calling All Creeps, PZA. Just type in on the YouTube PZA 420, and
you also released Purecaster on Karate Kings.
I sure did.
Yeah, good buddy of mine, old Karate King, the Koenig.
Danielson. Is that who you're talking about?
Yes, Dan Danielson.
Well, he approached me at his dojo. We came over to my pizza castle and we played Mario Kart. And he asked hey, would you want to release an album on my label? And I was like, of course. So I made this album, and he was like, I wanted it to be like the best album that you've made so far. And I'm like, okay, it will be. So then I tried to make the best album I could make, and I sent it to him. And here we are now talking about it.
We are in 2016.
2016. I wrote it, I think, in around September of 2015, maybe early October. Not sure, but that's when I started on it, I think, and then it released in November.
So do you set yourself up, do you have like a kind of a regimen that you put yourself on where you have to have so many songs produced by a certain time, or?
It's not so much that. It's like I'll during a certain point of time, like I'll write throughout, like I'll write a song every day, basically. Like, and some songs I'll throw away because it's just complete shit. But some songs I'll keep because I like it, or I'll do like more editing to it or something, and then put it onto an album of its own. So it's like every day I'm like writing, like as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna go work on another song, but for to like release like the next like lineup of shit.
Very nice, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I try to put myself on a regimen of some kind. It's just not very predictable, but I have to put in a certain amount of time every day, at least.
I mean, sometimes it's just like I don't even fucking like. I can't make like a song or something. Like I can, but it just sounds to me. It's just like I don't even want to. Like it sounds like shit. I'm gonna stop doing this. Go smoke a cigarette outside, and then just come back and start over, and make it. It feels more natural or something. Like leaving, especially if I've been in my room all day or something. Because most of the time I spend all my time alone. Like I barely get out to do much anything. Occasionally I'll go out, but not much.
So how long have you been producing?
Well, okay. I started with Sony Acid in 2004. You know what Sony Acid is?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Good
I
Charlotte
used
was on the
that.
radio back then.
What?
Good Charlotte was on the radio back then.
Exactly. Yeah. Lifestyles of the rich and the famous.
That's right.
Whatever. But that's where it started, and then it turned to Garage Band, and then like I got Logic 9, and then Logic Pro 10, and that's where I'm at now is Logic Pro 10. But it all started from like Sony Acid to like Fruity Loops before it's FL Studio, and then Garage Band, and that's
Nice.
it.
Do you remember when we were talking about Rock of Love? Do you remember the the rock revival in fashion and everything that happened during that time?
Oh yeah, dude, Affliction T-shirts.
Affliction.
Hell yeah! Give me Affliction with some big
Barbed
fucking
wire.
boots.
My shirt is a skeleton, but my lung and heart is intact.
What I love right now though are the memes that are taking that, and it'll say like, "Of course I listen to fucking Kelly Clarkson." It's like perfect.
I remember those days. I didn't succumb to wearing stuff like that, but I remember everybody had on like shirts that had like back tattoos on the back.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I never got into that scene either at all. I was wearing, I guess, like plaid shirts.
And the mohawk, the little mohawk, the Chuck
The
Liddell mohawk.
faux hawk.
Yeah, everyone wore those too.
Yeah.
Everyone looked like they stepped out of like Paris, Georgia. Is it Paris, Georgia? I don't know. Fort Benning, Georgia.
No, they just look like they stepped out of Rock of Love because everybody looked like that.
Yeah, I remember those days. That was hilarious and so weird for everyone to kind of embrace that. You know,
Yeah.
went to award shows dressed like that.
It's just, I don't know, fashion. It changes all the time, and I mean, what do you do? Hey, what's up? Hey, Nate. I'm like in an interview right now. I will. My roommate wants me to hang out.
Your bro wants you to hang out. You should hang out. We will cut this up right now and wrap it up. And of course, we will have you again.
Yes.
The next
I
time.
enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed having me on the show.
I absolutely enjoyed having you on this podcast. I would like to have another one. Certainly. It's every Saturday is when I'm going to try to get these around 5-ish Eastern time.
Yeah.
For anybody listening. So let's go ahead and wrap this up and plug what your next release is going to be and where is it going to be, if it's going to be anywhere, and all that good stuff.
All right. Next, if you go to my Facebook, if you go on Facebook and type in PZA and you just click the first thing that pops up, it's the one that has it's the first one that pops up. I'm the number one PZA, obviously. But anyways, you go there, and next week sometime, Commercial Dreams Ltd. is going to drop it sometime next week. I don't have an exact date. However, on 420, Elemental 95 is dropping Light Against the Dark, and that will be definitely out on 420.
They
And
lucked out releasing you on 420. Whoever
yeah,
got
that's
that
actually
one.
that's the first day I ever like. That's the first in 2014. That was the day I released the first ever PZA album. That's what I'm trying to fucking say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So we can find you on SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Facebook, all that good stuff. Just type in
PZA420.bandcamp, PZA, like SoundCloud.com/PZA420. Yeah, that's me. I'm PZA, but I'm PZA420. It's all, praise it and
Nice.
blaze it. Praise it and blaze it.
We can keep expecting many, many, many high quality albums coming out at the speed of light from Mr. Cody here.
I'm trying.
And you
There's
can
also out right now, Day and Night on the PZA Bandcamp. Check it out. They just came out. Day came out yesterday. Day before yesterday came out Night. So
awesome.
there's my plug. Sorry.
You can go to the Deep Web Music label at Bandcamp and check out all the fine wares that we're peddling. Aaron Shadrow and our new synthwave edition, Crystal Bear, with an exclamation point at the end of it. So when you type Crystal Bear in, put that punctuation in there or it won't be correct and you will be sued. Next one we have will be White Cube, a meme rapper who is coming out of the cold place of Canada. He will be releasing an upcoming release as well. Aaron Shadrow will be coming up with an upcoming release known as Nighttime Echoes. We have a lot of work up here at Deep Web Music to do. Please catch up with us. All right, everybody. It's been great. We'll see you next time, and take it easy.